Okay, I'm going to show you a little demonstration on how to string up a classical or nylon string guitar, whatever you want to call it. I like to start off with the big boy, the 6 string. First of all, you want to go in from this side. I've made the mistake many times going from the other side, but you know, just a waste of time, because there you are, right there. So now, you want to loop it. Now, depending on how thick the string is, you want to loop it, once or twice. But with this thick of a string, you want to obviously leave some room here. You're going to go to the left of the string and then back around so it looks like that, and now go through the loop on this side. Okay, now you want to leave enough room so the next string can lock it down. So make sure while you're pulling it tight to the bridge here that you're going to leave enough room for the next string to lock it down. Okay, so you want about maybe an inch or a little bit less for the next string. So with nylon strings, you don't need to leave a lot of extra. You can already see that the string has a little bit of tension here, right? So it's actually kind of tight. So with strings that are smaller than the actual hole that you're going into, you can go back on itself. Let's see if this string is small enough. Some strings, depending on your thickness choice, won't allow this. And I'll show you what to do in that case. But see, this one will allow it. So if you're looking at the tuner like this, if you're looking at it completely flat, and you're all the way through, you just want to loop back around and go through the same hole that you initially went through, right? So if you can't fit it in there, like for the thicker gauge strings, what you can do is actually loop it around itself. You can do something like that, and then you would start tightening it down on top of itself, depending on the direction it tightens. For the outermost strings, the highest string and the lowest string, you actually want to wind the string out towards the edge. So just be mindful of that. Now typically with the biggest string, you don't even need to do anything special. It's going to hold on because it's a big thick string, and the ridges on the string itself are thick enough to hold it in place most of the time. But if you want a little bit of extra security, like I said, you can go under itself and then you can start tightening it down. It'll start locking down on itself. Okay? Like that. And then as I continue to tighten it up, it will have fully locked down on itself. I'll show you the back here. See how it's naturally wanting to go towards the outside on these outermost strings? See how it's locked down on itself? Now let me show you how to lock the back here. For this bridge, I'm kind of pre-bending the string. Now let's go ahead and feed it through. Okay. Now we want to make use of this end here, and so now we're going to kind of hold it in place with the next string. Same thing, same exact thing here. Right? And again, leave it, a little bit less than an inch or so. It's a little bit long, but that's fine. A little bit too long is fine because you can cut it. Now this might be where some people start seeing string slippage depending on your gauge strings used. So again, as long as you can, just go straight back through the post. Now we're going to be doing this for the rest of them. So this one, you want to start moving the string towards the inside, depending on your headstock design. So if it's a more traditional headstock like this one, you want to kind of help guide it so it doesn't go to the outside. I mean, it can go to the outside if you want it to. It's not a huge deal, but you typically want the strings to be in line with the nut as possible, so it's not a lot of pressure on the nut and you don't crack your nut. So the smaller and the slipperier the strings get, if you're using clear nylon, obviously it's better to be a little bit too long than to be a little bit too short. So we'll leave one long just intentionally because it's not a big deal really at all. But you don't want it too long because at certain frequencies, when you strum the chords, it'll make these little strings vibrate And if it's like touching the guitar top or something like that, it can make little rattle noises. And make you think there's something wrong with the guitar when it's just a string kind of rattling. Nylon strings stretch a lot, so you want to make sure you leave enough room so the string can stack without actually touching the sides, you know, the left or the right side of the actual tuner holes, like the holes that's channeled out for the tuners. I just finished building this guitar. It's not the best sounding guitar. It was a bit experimental. So this one in particular, you want to start making sure it's moving towards the inside. So make sure it's on the right side of the winding, you know, like that. So now, typically, you would start running into the clear strings, right? These are the really slippery strings. This string is going to be super annoying. It's going to keep on winding up on you when you don't want it to. Still same process, kind of give it a little bit of a bend. Pound it in the hole. Okay, still doing the same thing, locking the previous string in. With this big thick boy, you can usually get away with a single twist. Make sure you lock down the previous string. I'm going to leave a little bit extra for this one. Again, this is a sort of a middle string, so you want to make sure that the once it's wound, it's moving towards the middle. So go ahead and double back, lock her in. Now there's other ways to lock strings. You know, this is not the only method, but this method has worked great for me. Nylon string guitars go out of tune a little bit easier than steel strings, you know, inherently, but for the most part, this method will make it to where, like, once a string is fully stretched out and it's not like you're not fighting the stretch anymore, it'll be pretty stable. This is the second string. You want to do something a little bit different. So go for the loop, but you want to loop it through the hole here twice now. So one, you see that loop, and two. Tighten that bad boy down. Now you can do it with a third string too if you have problems, but it's hard to get this amount of winds in the small space. But again, if you're having problems with a third string, just start over, take it off, and do 2 winds or 2 loops through on the bottom here. Nothing special here. Just pop it through, double it back. Pull it through. Make sure you're not wrapped around the tuners or something else. There we go. Again, this is a middle string, so make sure it's moving towards the middle. This one is a little bit different. Again, we're going to do a double winding. If you got other strings you want locked down, I typically like to leave the third long so that the second and the first string can hold it down. A little bit extra friction, never hurt nobody. So, you're going to want to do another double loop again. So, through here and through here. Now, the first string you want to leave a little bit long. Tie it down. Okay, that's 2 loops. Now, take the end here and push it through number 2, and if you want, number 3. Okay, see how that's pushed through? The more that you're interlocking these, they will be more stable this way. So for the last string, it's an outer string, so you want the windings to go towards the outside. Double back through, and again, you don't need to leave like too much extra. While she's tightening up, just make sure it's going towards the outside, which a lot of times it'll do naturally. But sometimes we can push it over, help it out a little bit. Just make sure you get past one winding so it locks in. See? Now it can't go over. So now if you have any extra, you know, like if this bothered you or if this bothered you, give her a clip. Uh-oh. You want these loops to be all the way at the bottom if you can. If you have to, get something to kind of help you. But push these loops down, and this will help get more downward pressure on each string. It's going to be harder with the clear strings, but eventually they will go. So every time you tune it up to pitch, push this down a little bit more, and it'll help the string stay locked in place a little bit more. See how they're a little bit more tucked? Now when it comes to this mess, you can choose to cut these, Or you can choose to keep them, because if the string breaks at the nut, or if the string breaks at the tuner, or someone cuts it on accident, you have extra string to work with. So from here, all you do is literally tune it up to whatever pitch, stretch it out. It's gonna lower down like almost a full pitch, or maybe even more sometimes. Sometimes it's like a semitone, sometimes it's a full tone. Hear that? I mean, even if I did it one more time. It's gonna keep on doing this for a good while. So maybe like 20 times. I'm not gonna give you a solid number because it'll change depending on your strings and the temperature and everything. Pull it off about like, 2 or 3 inches, something like that. Don't go too hard. That's it. Have a good day. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video.